0 degrees centigrade or up to 50 degrees centigrade, and super shiny. So when you turn to this side, you'll find our item number here, G643, and including 4 pieces dip glue, the base, actuator, the top, and the brush saver with 12 milliliter, and 6 pieces fast giant dipping powder with 17 gram. So when you turn to the back side of our package, you can see that these are our product information and the ingredients of the products here. And you'll find our company name here, address, the tail number, and the website here. So let's open the kit now. When you first open the kit, you'll find there's one instruction here. Here's the tutorials of glitter and the solid color. You need to follow our tutorials step by step because our fast giant dipping powder is different from other regular powders on the market. And here is our tutorials for the French colors, for the French powder. Same, you need to follow the tutorials step by step. Or you could scan the QR code here. After scan the QR code, actually you could get so many things on that page. Firstly, you could jump into our GH powder customer service group here. Here is for the nail lovers to share their experience for using our GH Fast Giant Dipping Powder Kit. Could you see that? These are all our friends, customers here. They can share their experience. And we could communicate their experience for using this kit together. And we often to launch some videos and some tutorials videos here. You can follow the step. Did you see that? So let's join us. You can add our Facebook GHDIP Powder. So actually you could, after scan the QR code, you could click the YouTube, the online tutorial with videos. So turn on this side, you could check here. These are the information of our factory and the history of our factory. And this side is for our colors, just like the color chart I show you, for above 108 colors, from the light to the dark, neon, and the glitter colors here. You could enter the Amazon.com and search GHDIP, get more information of our Fast Giant Dipping Powder Kit. So now let's take out the inner kits and see what you get. When you take out the inner kits here, you get 4 pieces dip glue with 12 milliliter and 6 dip powder, fast giant dipping powder with 17 grams here. We take out one by one. 6, it's total 4 pieces dip glue. 6 pieces, our powders. Remember, our fast giant dipping powder is totally different with other brands. So now, let's take it. When you first hold our dip glues in hands, you'll find our bottles are made of glass material, so it won't be like the plastic one. It's heavy. It's not easy to fall down. So you can check. This is our number 1, the base. We print our GH logo here, and the number, the name of the glue, and the size here. This is number 1 base. And here is the cap. The cap is silver, same with the GHDIP 3D logos on the top. The excellent design, right? So here's our number 2, the actuator. For the activator, you don't need to overuse it. You just need to use one time before the top coat, because it is for made the top coat getting dry and shiny. Remember, do not overuse our activator, because our fast giant dipping powder system is totally different with other regular powders on the market. So now here's our number 3, the top. For the top, if you use our GH Fast Giant Dipping Powder system, the top could be dried around 1 minute and super shiny. So here is our brush shaver. The brush shaver is our number 4. And actually, this for clean your dirty brush or your brush get hard. It's really helpful. We'll show you later on the tutorials and how to use it. So now you can see our 6 powders color here. The colors is just like I showed you just now. 6 beautiful natural colors. So when you first hold our powder jars in hand, you can see the gorgeous designs here. The printing is with rainbow printing. And the jar, because it's made acrylic jar, so it's crystal clear. With the printing GH logo here, Fast Giant Dipping Powder, and the size here. The cap is silver. Same with the 3D logos on the top, GHDIP. So what's the difference for our powder jars with other brands in the market? I could show you. Could you see that? These 2 powder jars in my hand is from other brands on the market. You can check the difference. How tiny of their jars and how bigger of our jars. Could you see that? Why it's important, I will show you. Because after we open the jar, you can see the inner seal here to avoid the leakage. When you get the package, you'll find the seals on the jar first to seal the powder to avoid leakage. And you can compare with other brands' powder jar. What's the difference? The cap, the mouth of the cap is totally different in size. Why is bigger is better? Because when you dip in the jar mouth such small, the powder will be easily splash. It's kind of waste, right? And easily to leak out the powder. So the important things of our jars here, we have to do so many search of our sizes, and you can see the difference here. So now later we will gonna to show you our online tutorial with our now technician. These are all the powder kits including 6 pieces deep blue and 4 6 pieces deep blue and 6 pieces powder, the color powder. So guys, guess what? For this kit, it's total around just $40. But when you enter this room, you get 5% off the discounts. So just share the link and our live stream link for your friends and family. So for using our GH Fast Giant Dipping Powder kit, we got some questions from our customer. How to prevent the nails from lifting and chipping, right? So it's necessary to push back your cuticle first. And every time, because your cuticle will move and grow every time, every day. So you cannot apply the base, the deeper base, with on our cuticle area. So it's necessary for the preparation. The preparation is the key. You need to wash your hand first to push back your cuticle, and every time to remove any dust. So later we will show you on the online tutorials how to avoid the chipping and lifting. And another, because our powder is the fast dry dipping system, so you don't need to worry. Don't need to worry, waste your time, because it dries within 30 seconds. So the key point how to use well for our fast dry and dipping powder, you cannot overuse the activator. And for the top coat, you need to use 2 times. For use 2 times, the second layer cannot when your first layer totally dry. You need to wait half dry and still sticky on your nails. So then use another time of the top coat. Then our surface will be super shiny. So we will show you later the tutorials for more detail. So let's go and see our technician how to do it. And oil. So now let's go start. Today we're not going to show you this color. And first, please shade the powder first. So you can see it. The powder jars is with the seal, so the powder will not leakage. So now we're going to use any nail tips or the cuticle pusher to stir the powder to avoid the powder stick together. So now the powder is getting smooth. Okay, now we're going to apply our number 1 base on. Yeah, actually, because we already cleaned our hands already, so we need to use the balm. If you have one, you could use the balm to dry your nail beds. Then the powder will be more stick with the nails. So we need to clean any dust and dry the nail beds. If you have one, if you have the balms from other brands, also could use for this part. So now we're going to show you to apply our number 1 base. Do not apply too much or too lax. From the middle left to the right. And every time 45-degree angles. Dip into the powder for 2 times or stay into the powder for a second. So every time, do not apply too much. And don't apply the base too near the cuticle area. So dip into the powder. You could dip 2 times. Let the powder absorb it with dipper as well. From the middle left to the right. Don't forget the edge. You need to apply the base coat every time evenly, so you don't need to worry the nail surface getting bumpy. Just don't apply too much on. Every layer will be very thin. Dip into the powder, stay for a second. And tap off the excess powder. So we're going to, from the middle left to the right. Okay, so we're going to dip into the powder with 45-degree angles. So when you do the powders, do not feel nervous. Every time, just relax. And use the brush to tap off the excess powder around the cuticle or the nail bed. to avoid the second layer get lumpy. So this is our second time. Remember, every time don't apply too much dip glue on. Take care of the cuticle area because wherever the base it is, wherever the powder will stick with. So just to take care of the cuticle and don't apply too much dip glue. From the left to the right. And every time, don't forget the nail edge because some customers said the nail edge are easier getting cracking. So every time remember to brush the nail edge to avoid lifting or tripping. So for our base, it's thin, so you don't need to apply too much. As you can see, our nail technician every time apply the base very carefully, slightly and slowly. Make the nail surface more even. So gonna to dip into the powder, stay for seconds, or dip 2 times in. And set off the excess powder. So we're gonna to, as you can see, for our second layer, the powder color is getting strong. So every time apply the glue evenly. Let the powder absorb with the dip glue, as you can see. So for the first finger, it's larger than other. So apply a little bit more, but not too much for the dip glue. From left to the right, every time, don't forget the edge. So this time you need to stay for a little bit longer because the surface area is larger than others. So our powders is fast dry dipping powder, so it can be dried within 30 seconds. So now actually we could fire the nails already. No need to activator. Do not to overuse our activator because our activator just need to use 1 time before the top coat. So the nails are getting dry. So, as you can see, the nail surface is already dry. We could buff now. As we're going to show you another hand. Take off the excess powder. So we're going to show you another hand too. So now we're going to apply the number 1 layer. Don't apply too much on the little fingers. Very thin and dip into the powder. Let it stay for a second. From the middle, left to the right. And 45 degrees angles to dip into the powder. As you can see, the surface still evenly. Apply the base slightly and slowly. Don't forget the edge. So repeat this step for every fingers. From the middle left to the right. Brush the nail surface evenly. So gonna to dip into the powder. So guys, remember every time just stay for a second into the powder. Okay, repeat this step, middle, left, to the right, brush the dip layers evenly, and dip into the powder. Tap off the excess powder. You can use the brush to tap off the excess powder. So actually our powder is already dry within 30 seconds. We're going to apply the second layer. Don't apply too much. And don't apply the base too near the cuticle. So you're going to find easy to lifting from the cuticle area because the cuticle will move and grow every day. Same, repeat this way from the middle, left to the right. Let the glue more even on the surface. Don't forget the edge every time. So dip into the powder, stay for seconds. So every time, don't forget to brush evenly like this way. Left to the right. Don't forget the edge part. And dip into the powder. Stay for seconds. So actually for the powders, because our GH Fast Giant Dipping Powder with the color T pigment, so actually the second times the layer, you can see the color is getting strong. So we just use apply the color powder 2 times on the nails. But if you like the color more strong on the nails or you want the nails more thick, you can repeat this step for 3rd layer. But do not overuse the powder because it will be getting very thick. So we need to brush every time slightly and gently and dip into the powder at 45 degrees. Let the powder stay for seconds and tap off the excess powder. So now actually for our powders, it could dry around within 30 seconds. So the powder surface already dry. We are going to use the brush to take out the excess powder here. So we need to close the powder caps first. If you have the nail gel in your house, the machine, you can use the nail gel to fire off any lumpy or uneven place. So we're going to fire the nail surface to make the nail surface more even. So if you don't have the machine, you could use the file too, like the buffer block. But if you have, it's better to use this one, to use the machine to fire off any lumpy place. Actually, if you follow our steps step by step, so you will find the nail surface won't be uneven or lumpy. Don't forget the cuticle area. Every time you need to fire off the cuticle part because then the powder won't be lifting or chewing off from the cuticle part, because the cuticle will grow and will move and move every day. So don't forget the cuticle part. It's really important to file off, to let the nail surface more even. So actually, there are some tips for to prevent chipping or lifting. So first, you need to push back the cuticle, clean any dust from the nail plates. So another thing is to, when you every time fire the nail plates, don't forget the cuticle part. As you can see, our nail technician will fire the cuticle parts gently. If you use the machine, please do not turn up the rates of the machine. So we're going to fire off another head. So just to fire the nail plate slightly. As you can see, the key point is first to fire the middle part and the cuticle. Then the powder will stick with your nail beds perfectly. To fire off the even place, don't forget the cuticle part. So now, every time repeat this to make the nail plate, the nail surface more even. Okay, the first finger. So from the cuticle part, you need to use the machine more closely. Then the critical part will be fired off. The excess powder you just made to reduce the scratch on the nail plate. Because this part, you could make your nail plate more smooth, then when you apply the top coat, the nail surface will be more shiny. This part is just to reduce the scratch on the nail surface and use the soft side to refine the shape, the nail edge, to smooth up the nail edge. You can see we every time to fire the cuticle part. This part we could avoid the powder easily chewed off. Every time you use your file, if you want to fire the cuticle parts, you need to use the 45-degree angle. That it won't scratch your cuticle skin. So every time, just like that, cuticle part. So this file is really useful to remove any uneven place. Don't forget the nail edge to smooth up the nail edge with refined shape. If your front is still lumpy, so you just buff a little bit longer than other nails. So every time just to fire the nail plate. Don't forget the critical part. Use the soft side. When you have the file, you can find there will be with double side with different roughness emery boards. So we often use the soft side to use on the nail plate. Just to fire off any bumpy place. Don't forget the critical part. You can see our technician use the 45-degree angle to fire off the critical part. So don't forget the edge. We use it to smooth. And finally, use the brush to remove any dust. Carefully. And another hand, we repeat this part. And for this file, it's for used for to reduce the scratch on the nail plate. Then later, if you apply the top coat, it will look more shiny and even. So you can use the soft part to smooth the nail edge with refined shape. So this part is important too, because when you fire enough for your nail plate, that your nails will the powder will be more stick with your nails. And after finish, you will find the nail surface will be more bright and shine. And I remind you for every time, so don't forget the critical part and the nail edge. Because you need to smooth up your nail edge, then the shape of your nail will look better. So this part is really important too, before to apply the top coat later. Because if this part you make it well, the nail surface evenly, so later the top coat looks more shiny on your nail bed. So every time, don't forget the nail edge. It's really important, this part. So during the nail process, when you apply the deep blue, the base, and don't forget the nail edge, because the nail edge part will be easy cracking. So every time, just to apply the base on the nail edge. And now we are going to firing the nail plates. Don't forget to smooth up the nail edge too. And another important point is that the critical part is also really important. That you can see the nail surface is getting smooth now. Don't forget the critical part. So every time, use the file from middle to fire off any you feel bumpy place. And use the soft side to reduce the scratch on the nail plate. Don't forget the critical part to remove or fire off any lumpy place. And these parts are really important to prevent the powder lifting or tripping from the cuticle. Now, don't forget the nail edge. Use the soft side to smooth up. So we're going to use the brush to take off any dust. Gently to use it. And now use the lint-free pads to remove any dust. Because after the filing, the powder or any dust will stick with your nail plate. So it's really important part now to remove with lint-free pads or the towel. The towel in your kitchens, it's okay to use for that too. Remember every time to remove any dust from your nail bed. Use the lint-free pads or the alcohol pads. But if you don't have both, so you can use the towel too. So now we already finished the filing. So remember, now we are gonna to apply our number 2, the activator. So the difference is here. So our activator just used one time before the top coat to make the top coat get dry and shining. So we need to apply a very thin layer on our nail because the activator is volatile liquid. It will easily disappear on air. So don't apply too much. Because you overuse the activator, it's easier to get things cracking. So do not overuse the activator. So we're going to use our top. Our top coat you need to use 2 times. The first layer is like the base, don't apply too much. Very thin layer from the middle left to the right. Don't forget the edge. Middle left to the right. So actually, for important parts to apply the second layer is that when the nail surface is half dry but still sticky, you will see the surface will getting a little bit matte or dumb. So we apply the second time. For the second time, we apply much more than the first time. So the top coat will be more shiny. Remember this part. When the nails, the first layer is half dry but still sticky, then apply the second layer top coat on. So for the first layer, apply very thin on the nail. From the middle left to the right, don't forget the edge. From the middle left to the right. Just brush it even. So the second layer, the critical part is that when the nail surface getting a little bit matte and you feel that it's still sticky, then apply the second time. Don't wait too long time to apply the second layer. So you can see, we're going to apply the second layer of the top coat. The nail is getting shiny now. For our fast drying dipping powder system, the top coats could be dried within 1 minute. So you can see it's really shiny, super shiny after the 2 times of the top coat. So after 1 minute, the nail surface is already dry. Dry already within 1 minute if you use our fast drying dipping powder system. So we're going to show you again. So now, after file, you need to use our activator for 1 time. Do not overuse our activator because the difference with other brands on the market. So every time just use 1 time before the top coat. Our activator no need to use for let the powder dry. It's used for the top coat get dried and more shiny. So don't overuse the activator. And apply very thin layer on. Do not use too much because the liquid is volatile. So after the activator, we're gonna to use our top coat. For the top coat, we need to apply 2 times. The first layer is very thin. Don't forget edge every time. From the middle left to the right, don't forget edge. From the middle left to the right. So now we're going to apply the second layer on the first finger because when the first layer half dry but still sticky, we're going to apply the second time. The critical part is that if you find the first layer getting matte or dumb, that you could apply the second time too for the top coat. For the second time, the top coats you could apply much more than the first layer. It could be air dried within around 1 minute. So for the first layer, do not apply too much. From the middle left to the right, every time don't forget the nail edge. Because this time the top coat could prepare for the nail edge to prevent chipping. So when the first layer half dry and sticky, so we're gonna to apply the second time. And for the top coat, the second layer, it could be dried within 1 minute. So after 2 times of our top coat, you will find the nail plate is getting shiny. So you can see for the nail surface. You see that? the nail plate, the nail surface are evenly and shiny. So now we're going to test the top coat already dry. So if you use our fast giant dipping powder system, the top coats could be dried within 1 minute. So guys, did you learn anything from it? So today our tutorials already done. Thanks for your supporting. Today, if you buy this kit, you'll get 5% off discounts when you enter this live stream. So every time for the nail tips, I want to share with you some tips how to make our fast drying powders more perfectly. First, you need to prepare. The preparation is the key. You need to push back the cuticle, cut off excess cuticle every time, because your powder will be lifting from the cuticle area. So the second is don't apply too much debris or too less debris. If too much debris, you will find the nail plates will get lumpy or uneven. But if too less debris, especially near the cuticle, it's easily lifting here. So remember, do not apply too much debris or too less. And 3, for the activator, it's really important. You cannot overuse because our powder is fast giant dipping powder system. You cannot overuse the activator. You just use 1 time before your top coat, and to make the tops get dried and shiny. 4, we need to apply the second layer of our top coat when the first layer gets a little bit matte, sticky, but half dry. So then you apply the second time of our top coat. It will be made the top coat more shiny. Remember, our GH powders could use with other brands debut, and our debut could use with other brands powder, but we suggest to use the whole system, the whole fast giant dipping powder system. It's more perfect to do your nails on. So guys, when you enter this one, get 5% discount off by this kit, the G643. So up to now, our tutorials and live stream is sounds like the end. So thanks for supporting. See you next time. Bye guys.